Okay, we're going to do this differently. All right. Oh, hello everyone. It's a little slow getting started today. Some days are like that. So, I'm Dr. B again, and I'm coming back with chapter 3, part 2 of the first part, and I'll go into that in a moment. Let me just remind you again, I'm the author of I Want to Be Me, the guidebook for teens and young adults. And the workbook for this, the I Want to Be Me workbook, which is for teens, preteens, teens, and young adults. And I will explain again today why I included preteens, even though they're not included in the guidebook. Not in so many words, but of course, all ages are included because we don't start at 13 years of age. We start at just a few seconds after birth or 1 second after birth. So in chapter 2 in the guidebook is about the second decade and going into the early years it's about the first decade and going into the early years of the second decade. So that age between 10 and 13 before we become teens and young adults. So, and it's a very important period. And the reason I included it in the workbook is because there's a lot of work that gets done in that period if everything's happening at the speed that we would like. At 10, you're still very dependent on your parents. They're constantly reminding you to wash your hands, brush your teeth, take care of your chores, get down to do your homework, keep going on your homework, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. You are not independent yet. And yet you're expected by the time you reach 20 or even earlier, maybe 18, the legal age, to be quite independent. So how do you get from 10 to 18? How do you get from being totally dependent to independent? So, and that's a big job, and you have plenty of time. And in the preteen section of the workbook, I go into several areas one begins to develop, and some of them are expected to be managed quite well by the time you turn 13. So the ones that are really essential to be accomplished are, one is taking care of yourself, your body, your personal hygiene, your clothes, your surroundings, if you're lucky enough to have a room to take care of and maybe share in your home responsibility with chores, and I have charts to help you remember to do all that. Then I talk about your responsibility for your education, which is about doing your homework without being prodded into it, making sure that you have all the materials necessary and that you get it done. Homework is very important. It's part of your taking charge of your education. And by taking charge of your education, I mean being there to learn. You're not expected to teach or do what we call research by yourself, though you are welcome to do that. But you are expected to listen in class, make sure that you learn what's being taught. And if that's a difficult thing to do, either because you're behind or because it is difficult for you today, then your responsibility is to get the help you need, to go to study hall, to go to after school or before school studying, or at lunchtime review, whatever it takes. You are expected to ask questions in class so that you'll do that learning. So make sure that you get it. And if things are particularly difficult because of some shortcomings like ADHD or dyslexia, or even some difficulties with math or reading, you please take it. There is always help for that in the schools, and it's your responsibility to take advantage of it. Don't spurn it. It is for you to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So this is a quick review of what we started with in the first two sections. And I'm going on to the third section of those 3 years between 10 and 13. And I want to talk about managing yourself with brothers and sisters. So quite often, by the time you reach 10 or 11, you may be expected to stay home by yourself. And you need to know the rules and make sure that you are following them, because they're for your well-being, for your safety, to stay inside the house, to keep the doors locked, to not go out or let anybody come in. And if you are asked to watch for younger siblings or same age siblings, you're certainly encouraged to make sure they don't have access to knives or other weapons, that they don't play with matches, and neither should you play with fire or weapons. And being alone does not mean that you can do whatever you feel like, because the rules are there for your protection. They're not just to be a pain, they're there for your protection. It's too easy to hurt yourself, and then there's nobody home to take care of you, or so it's important. And also you may have to feed yourself and make sure that you're drinking enough water, and staying out of any forbidden things like liquor and cigarettes, if there are any in the home, and there often are. So these are big rules that are there to help you out. I think most of you are familiar with those rules, and I hope that most of you do follow them when you are responsible for yourself. Responsible for yourself means you're your own parent. And in one of the chapters later in the guidebook and the workbook, we talk about how to be your own good parent. But this is already a practice. Do not let yourself be tempted to do things that are not allowed, because there is a reason that they are not allowed. So you can tell I've raised children and I'm working on grandchildren, and they didn't always obey, but thank goodness they stayed safe. They did not do anything terribly foolish. Another very important, and this is where I'm going to focus today, is part of self-care is knowing your emotions and your behavior in terms of your emotions. And you're probably thinking, what is that about? What does she mean? What is she talking about? So let's just take it little piece by little piece, is to be aware of your emotions. When you're very young, you just react to whatever is happening. You may laugh, cry, get angry, scream, throw a tantrum, but these are not things that you decide about or that you're even really aware of, though sometimes parents are able to help you and say, well, I know that you're very upset about this, but, throwing a temper tantrum is not the solution. When you come down, we'll talk about why I said no. So sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, by the time you are 10 and beyond, you can start paying attention to your own emotions. So one of the exercises I am asking you, and I'm going to share the screen here, just to start becoming aware. If you'll remember, we talked about awareness. Here it is. I'm getting better at sharing the screen. So this is the part about managing yourself in the home when you're alone, or with brothers and sisters where you're in charge of taking care of them. So I went through that, but I want to now start on what I call emotional coping. So part of your emotional mental health is being aware of yourself. And this is what we started out the course with, about how to be more aware of who we are, what we do, what we want for ourselves. So here we are looking at emotions specifically. So I'm asking you, and I was doing the exercise myself while rehearsing this lesson for today. Where do you feel your emotions? Some are felt in the head, the heart, the stomach, the gut, maybe the clenched fist. This is to kind of help you pay attention to how you react to things. So for me, joy or happiness, I kind of this great feeling in my chest, feel excited, maybe a little bit of tightness because of the excitement. Pleasure, I feel very relaxed, when I'm pleased by something. Trust feels kind of warm, you know. But at the same time, anger feels even warmer. Anger feels warm and tense. I tense my shoulders, my chest, my arms, maybe my hands. It's important to pay attention for yourself. And then you're doing this exercise, you kind of having this fantasy of what would bring you joy or trust or fear. So fear, where does fear like? Fear always feels kind of cold in my shoulders. Sometimes my scalp starts feeling very tense. Um, irritation is kind of close to anger, but it's usually in the head. I feel like I want to say something. I'm getting angry. I realize I'm getting angry. But a lot of times as an adult, I try not to show irritation if it's not appropriate, like at work or with some clients, but being aware of it is very important. So frustration, this is a tough one. How do you feel when you're frustrated? Well, for me, how do I feel? I feel anxious. I feel kind of sad. Maybe, I don't know, irritated and getting angry. But sometimes frustration is when you can't do anything about it. So I might feel sad. I might feel nervous. Not really sure. Some of these are very difficult to pay attention to. Panic. Now, panic, that's a big one. So how would I feel? What do I feel when I'm panicking? I want to run. I want to hide. I want to be invisible. Panic does not happen very often at all, thank God. So, but I think for most people, the reaction is to want to run when you are feeling panic. Sometimes, though, for people who may have been abused, the panic is to freeze. That's one reaction. It used to be fight or flight, but now we say fight or flight or freeze, because if you feel that you can't do anything about it, you may just freeze, kind of play dead. Some animals protect themselves that way. They know they can't run, they just kind of give up, hunker down and give up. Sometimes that's enough for the predator to realize that they're not really a good prey. I don't know. This is complicated, and this whole paragraph is complicated. So, but let's try to move on with it. When we acknowledge our feelings and we understand them, then we can look at our behavior. So what I mean by that, how not just the feeling that you have inside, but how do you behave? So when happy, I phrased it as, when happy, what do? When happy, I smile, I look excited, I may clap, or sometimes if I'm really moved, we put our hands in front of our mouth as if we were going to scream or something. Sometimes people just cover their whole face because they get very emotional. So all this is being aware of what you do. When I'm pleased, satisfied, I'm relaxed, I lean back in my chair or stand back, smiling, feel confident. When trusting, I may get closer to someone, make a step in their direction, look comfortable with them. sometimes at the moment when we hug someone, uh, so when angry, I would definitely take a step back, you know, unless I want to hit or fight. Depends what I want to do. But I think initially I would take a step back and sort of assess the situation, maybe yell, maybe hit, I'm not sure. When afraid, I would definitely take some steps back, get ready to run, get ready to act whatever is needed. When irritated, I would probably have an expression showing that I'm irritated. I know my children kind of knew that expression, like, um, you're in trouble. You don't keep pushing, So, and there is the look that you give your kids that they are overstepping my boundaries. So I'm irritated with them. Frustrated, looking angry, looking puzzled, looking, I don't know, maybe sad at times if I can't do anything about it. When panicking, that's again, I might, I would probably run. Nowadays, I would run, or I would certainly try to dodge whatever was happening. Um, and sometimes I try not to show it. And I think a lot of people do that. You try not to show the fear because then you feel vulnerable. So that's also an option, to just act as if nothing happening. That's not usual. And you may or may not be different. So I picked out an example. This was, I've told you how difficult it was to do this guidebook. And as I'm teaching it, I'm realizing that I'm asking quite a bit and it's not always clear. So this is a part which actually I'm going to leave for the next lesson because they leave you time to think. I try to make these lessons 15 minutes and I'm already at 17. So I want to give you time to think about, try to observe yourself in the next couple of days before you go on to the next lesson. Observe how you feel, where you feel it, how you react to it. And here we're just talking about reaction, how you manage it. I think that's a good thing to stay with for now, since it is a complicated and it takes some getting used to. It's a complicated topic. It takes some getting used to. So, but anyway, next session, which I am going to tape in just a little bit, as I explained to you, I am going on vacation, but I want to leave you all the lessons that I can so that you do them at your own pace when you're taking your vacation, but you're not necessarily influenced by mine. So when we meet again, I will talk about how we can learn to choose between how we react to things and what do we do. So this is exercise 3, part 6, exercise 3. If you want to take a look at it, if you have the book, of course, you're more than welcome, but we're going to talk about that next time. So take care and enjoy doing these 2 exercises and getting to know yourself better. You may even want to do them in front of a mirror. I'm not in front of a mirror, but I do see my face here. And so I get to, let me stop sharing, and I know what I look like when I'm expressing these things, which is, it might be a good way for you in front of a mirror or a Zoom on the computer, if you like. You practice to just look at what you look like. Think about a time when you were very happy and see what your body does. Does it relax? Does it tense up? Do you look like that? Do you know, what do you look like? How did you react? So enjoy that, and come 20 minutes as always. That seems to be my time. But I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.